Okay, so this is Ryan Morini. I'm sitting here with Enid Pinckney on June 23rd, 2012. Can you state your full name for me, please?
Yes, my name is Enid Curtis Pinckney,
And can you
Pinkney.
Thank you. And when and where were you born?
I was born in Miami, Florida.
What was the date?
I was born October 15th, 1931.
Wow. And is that where you grew up?
Yes, in Miami, Florida, in a section of Miami called Overtown, the colored section.
I see. What do you remember from growing up in Miami?
Well, I have very pleasant memories of growing up with my family and going to church, going to school. My life centered around those two institutions and my neighborhood, and we were like a family. The church was an outlet for my growth and development, and special programs that they had, like Christmas programs, Easter programs. I had to learn what they call my piece. I had to commit it to memory, and I had to make my parents proud. And then in school, I was taught that I had to excel because my parents were immigrants, and they had come from the Bahamas. My father came from the Bahamas in 1910. And so he saw a lot in Miami. And as I went to elementary school, to Dunbar Elementary School from 1st through 6th grade, and then I went to Booker T. Washington High School from 7th through 12th, and I graduated from Booker T. Washington High School in 1949. And after that, I went to Talladega College in Talladega, Alabama, and I graduated from there with a Bachelor of Arts degree in social science, and I have a master's degree from Barry University in guidance and counseling, and I have an honorary doctorate degree from St. Thomas University in Miami.
How did you get the honorary doctorate?
Well, I have done quite a bit of writing about various aspects of my life. I wrote about Overtown being my town, growing up there and what it meant, and the other families, and that's one of the things that I like to do is to write. And so I was recommended for it, and I had enough papers to show, scholarly writings, and I was accepted into the program.
Just to backtrack for a moment, what was it that brought your father or your family here from the Bahamas, or to Miami, I should say?
Okay. Well, my father came to Miami for better economic conditions and better opportunities. Back, of course, in that day when he came, he used to be, he was a farmer, and then he used to dive. I hear them talking today about diving and I forgot the name of the thing that they showed, for instance, at Red Bay in the Bahamas. Sponging. He was a sponger. That was his occupation, because there was good money in that, in the Bahamas. But when he came to the United States, that was not a lucrative job. So he had to find other work, and then he didn't have any land to farm. But he knew about the earth, so he began doing gardening work. And he was able to get some very good jobs with some very wealthy white people who employed him mainly because he was trustworthy, because they could leave their winter homes and go up north, and they left he and my mother, on the premises to take care of it. And they trust him with all of their valuables. And they came back and everything was there. And so he was able to recommend other Bahamians who came, his friends, to some of their friends for jobs. So as I would go along and meet people, they would say to me, "Your father gave me my first job when I came to this country." And so but he knew gardening also, because that was another part of knowing farming. So he just transferred his skills with the earth. And my mother was a maid, and so that's how they made their living. And then they lived on premises. They lived where they worked. So what they had to do was they had to get my grandmother and my aunt to move into our house to be with us as children, because we could not go to school on Miami Beach where they worked, because I had to go to segregated schools. And so my grandmother and my aunt stayed in the house with us so that we would have supervision, and so that we would be able to go to school and have somebody there to take care of us.
I see. And so, I mean, I guess you left Miami to go to school, higher education, but did you return immediately thereafter, or where else did you live in your life?
When I left Talladega College, I said I wasn't going to go back to Miami. I went to Chicago, and I said that I called myself going up north where it was supposed to be better. But then I found out that it really wasn't better, because as I made friends and as we would go places, I remember one time we went to a Boy Scout jamboree. They wanted to go. I was the only black in the group. I worked for a settlement house. And they went to this Boy Scout jamboree, and they asked if they could go in, and the man told them, yes, if you're white, you can go in. So that meant I couldn't go in. And and they really were not aware of what was going on. So they asked me didn't I want to come. I said, no, it's not that I don't want to go, it's that they don't want me in there. So that was an awakening for them. And another time that I was on a trip with them, we were going someplace. We stopped at a restaurant, and we ordered, I like cheeseburgers and French fries, and so I ordered the cheeseburger and the French fries, and everybody got whatever they ordered in a plate, and mine came in a basket. So then they asked me, they said, didn't you want a plate? I said, yes, I wanted a plate, but they're discriminating against me by giving me a basket. And so that, and I found out that discrimination was everywhere. It wasn't just in the South. The difference in the discrimination in the South and the North was that in the North, it was subtle. In the South, it was pronounced with a sign. It had a sign up saying white or colored. The fountain said white water and colored water, or the restaurant said, you had to sit here or you sit there, or in a movie you sat in the balcony. So it was just segregation was everywhere, and people people in the North somehow or another felt that they were better because they were in the North, and there wasn't the segregation that there was in the South, but there was segregation. And so I couldn't see the difference. And so when my mother became ill and she wanted me to come back home, I said, okay, I'll come back home because I could see the hypocrisy of the North. And I'd rather deal with what you know in the South. So I came back to Miami, and I started teaching. I was doing group work at a settlement house in Chicago, but I came back to Miami, and I started teaching. And then from there, I became a counselor, a guidance counselor, and then I became an assistant principal. I was an assistant principal for about 20 years, and I retired. And then after that, I got into working for the historic Hampton House in the preservation of the historic Hampton House Motel. And that's one of the things that I'm doing now. I'm trying to preserve, it's a historic site in Miami where Dr. Martin Luther King first said his I Have a Dream speech, and where Muhammad Ali had his victory party when he beat Sonny Liston. And it was where all of the celebrities who came to Miami who could not stay on Miami Beach or in the white hotels, they would stay at the Hampton House. They could perform in these hotels on Miami Beach, but they couldn't live there. And so the Hampton House was a very elegant place. It was owned by a Jewish couple, but it was for the Black population. And it was where we have a picture, for instance, of Dr. Martin Luther King in the swimming pool at the Hampton House in his swimming trunks. And we have a picture of Joe Louis and Muhammad Ali and Jackie Robinson and Althea Gibson. And we have pictures of all of these celebrities as they were at the Hampton House back in the day.
Wow. And so what have the threats been to the Hampton House in terms of?
Well, now it's a derelict building. It has been used for drug addicts as a home. And the county, Miami-Dade County, was going to tear it down because it is considered a derelict building. But a group of us got together and said that this is the last motel in Miami-Dade that was here during the days of segregation. So to us, it's an historic site. And so we worked to get local historic designation for the building. And then we asked the county, because we didn't have any money, we asked the county to buy it. And the county bought it for $450,000. And then it still was a derelict building. So we got it to become a part of the general obligation bond program for $4.7 million. And we got some more money from our county commissioner, Commissioner Audrey Edmondson, $1.8 million additional dollars for the restoration. And we are in the process now of seeing to it that the restoration takes place. That's our big job right now, is to see that historic site is brought back to the community, and that it becomes an engine for economic opportunities and for educational purposes, cultural experiences, and that it will be an asset to the community rather than what it is today. That's our dream, is to bring it not as it was before. It will not be a motel, but we are hoping that it will serve the community in ways that the community needs to be served.
What changes have you seen in the community since you've spent so much of your life in Miami? How have things changed from when you were growing up to the situation you see now?
Well, I think that things have changed because there are people from all races that work toward historic preservation. That is the one thing that pulls people together. If you believe in historic preservation, you can work together on a project to restore and to preserve your community. You're saving the past for the future. And so that is something that I have seen that has brought people together from various walks of life. And I saw the same thing happened when the Lemon City Cemetery was discovered, when a developer was building apartments on what was an abandoned cemetery. And the city of Miami said they did not know it was an abandoned cemetery when they gave the developers permission to build 3 apartments there. So a group of citizens got together and rallied together and formed the Lemon City Cemetery Community Corporation to prevent further development of that site. And today, well, there is 1 apartment building there, but 2 apartment buildings were stopped from being built. And the developers built a monument to the 523 names of persons that were buried there. We were able to discover those names. In fact, there are 2 additional names that we have discovered, which we hope that we will be able to add in some form to the listing of persons that are buried there. And then we also have a memorial garden. The rest of the property is now a memorial garden in memory of those people who were buried there. With that project, our next effort will be to get those human bones reinterred into the ground. That is one of the things that we are trying to do. And the other thing is that we would like to have signage on the property which gives the history of the cemetery and how this has come into being. So those are some of the projects that I'm working on currently. The 2 projects I'm working on currently are the restoration of the Hampton House Motel and the reinterment and signage for the Lemon City Cemetery.
I see. Where are those bones being held now they were disinterred and taken where exactly?
The archaeologist has them now, and we are hoping that they'll be in the ground as soon as possible. And this was discovered in, I think it was 2009 when they discovered. So it's been some time since they have been discovered, and they have not been reinterred. and this is 2012 that I'm speaking to you. So it's been, I think it's been long enough.
Yeah, I can understand that. How did you get started in historic preservation? How did you make that move?
You know, I almost don't know myself how I got started into historic preservation. Well, I like history. I'm a social science major, and I like history. I used to teach history, and it makes it brings history to life when you're preserving it, so that younger people can see what went on in the past and what it was like. And if we are able to respect history to that extent that you can put forth effort to preserve it and pass it on and give it respect, and to educate people, to teach people to respect themselves and to respect their history, I think that it's so important that we do whatever it takes to pass that spirit on to the next generation.
I can understand that. And so you've been, you mentioned the Miami Circle as well. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
All right. When I was president of Dade Heritage Trust, I was the first African-American president of Dade Heritage Trust. That's another discovery that was discovered in Miami, Florida, at the mouth of the Miami River, that there was an Indian ground there where the Indians had various relics they found, and a developer wanted to put up a parking lot there. And so because of our mission is for preservation, I felt that, you know, you can't discriminate. You have to preserve. You have to respect everybody's history. And so even though that brought in a fight against City Hall, that was another battle with City Hall, because the city was in favor of the parking lot going up because it was going to bring taxes into the city. So it's like, you know, you can't fight against City Hall. How could you fight City Hall? But we decided that our mission was historic preservation, so we would have to fight City Hall. And we had a lawyer who said that he would file a suit, a pro bono suit, to preserve the site from development. And then somebody asked me, well, suppose the city does a slap suit against Dade Heritage Trust. And I didn't even know what that was, but my remark was, if we say that our mission is historic preservation, we've got to do what it takes to preserve it, whatever that's going to take. Now, I don't know what a slap suit is all about, but we can't be afraid of the slap suit because of our mission, and our goal is historic preservation. And so that has to be the motivating factor that moves and determines what we do. And so the board went along with that, and we were able to win that battle. Of course, the city had to pay the developer for the property, and he wanted them to pay for what he would have made had he developed the property. So that was something that they had to work out. But the circle is still there in Miami. It's preserved. The goal was met. We preserved the circle. It's there for tourists to see and anybody who wants to see it.
That's quite a fight to win.
Yes.
Okay, I think we're out of time, but thank you very much for this interview. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.